Welcome to the Handcrafted Podcast, the business of making things. I'm Paul, founder of Philadelphia Table Company and the Handcrafted Network, and I believe great craftsmanship deserves great business strategy. This podcast is for makers who want to build not just great products, but a thriving business. Each episode will dive into the mindset, systems, and skills that turn craft into success. All right, guys, welcome back to the Handcrafted Podcast. The Handcrafted Podcast is brought to you by the Handcrafted Network. The Handcrafted Network is an online classroom and community that gives you the tools and resources you need to scale or grow your business, as well as the tools you need to make your business better. Some people are happy with the level of where their business is. They don't want to add employees. They're solopreneurs that work really hard and are doing pretty well as far as business goes and don't want to manage the clients and all that stuff. So don't want to manage employees. So this group also helps you guys make better companies, more sustainable companies, more profitable companies, because we all know how hard it is to make things. And, doing the business side of it is definitely very challenging. So the group is very much focused on how to grow the business side of things. I'm not telling you how to make dovetail joints. And, of course, there's that sort of talk in there. But it's really for all kinds of makers that are learning to want to grow their business and have the tools and resources needed. The other thing that's really helpful is the community section. I know for me, I'm like the only person of my friend group who's doing any of this, any friends and family and stuff. So it's a pretty lonely road, and it's really great to be able to connect with other makers, and we have people all over the country and to Canada. You can meet with people in person. We're eventually going to set up like an online or a live in-person summit, which is going to be super cool that I'm excited about. But we do the group calls where we get to connect with people, as well as community message board and all that sort of stuff. Again, it's a really great place. We all follow each other on socials. It's just a great place to get the support you need to help you grow your business. If you're interested, I have a link below in the show notes. You could just click on that. That'll take you directly to the page. If you have any other questions, you could send me an email, paul@thehandcraftednetwork.com. I'll gladly get on a phone call or chat with you about it to see if it's the right fit for you. All right, so with that said, I want to jump into a topic that we talk about a lot in the group, a lot in the community, and I think it's something that's a big thorn in most people's sides. It's something that kind of a necessary evil, but we all kind of hate to do as makers, and that's social media, or basically online marketing, essentially. So there's a few social media platforms that we're all familiar with, right? There's YouTube, there's Instagram, there's Facebook, there's TikTok, and there's so many countless others that are constantly popping up. X, all these other things that are out there that kind of pop up, go away sort of stuff. So the one that I utilize the most, and the one I'll talk about the most today, is Instagram. That's the biggest tool I've used to help grow my company. From the very early days, I knew the importance of social media. I was in the music industry before this. I was managing artists. I was also in a signed rock band. And at the time, that was right as social media was really starting to come up, especially Instagram. And the only way to really break artists and the way to really get to the masses was by you figuring out how to hack the system or to tool the system in your favor to help spread your word. So at the time, Instagram was really popular. So we were figuring out ways to really utilize that to gain fans and to break artists. So with that said, when I started Philadelphia Table Company, I knew the importance of social media, and I figured, hey, I need to figure out how to use this tool in a way that helps grow my business. And since then, we've grown to, I think we're at like 25K followers. I'm always obviously trying to get more. I'm trying to get up to 100K. But I want to talk a little bit about the followers and the following and sort of like what the best practices are, as well as the things that you can do that aren't like super time consuming, that are a practical way to use social media that I think a lot of people just sort of say, I'm not dealing with that, I'm not dancing in front of the camera, etc. So The other thing too is I've recently started using TikTok a little bit more, and that seems to be a little bit of a different platform, a little bit of a different format. So I'll talk about that sort of near the end of the podcast of how I'm using TikTok to grow my business and increase following there. All right, so Instagram. Like I said, I used Instagram to really grow my business. I use it, there's a few reasons why I love it. I love it because it's basically a way of creating an online gallery that people can interact with. So, when we post stuff on our website gallery, there's no likes or comments or hearts or anything like that. And what's really nice is having it in a public platform like this where people can share it, people can like it, people can comment on it. You really get to see and get live feedback for the work that you're doing. It's also a really great place for people to come, and it also kind of validates your brand, if you will. So for us, I always reference, hey, if somebody reaches out about a specific item, hey, we're looking for XYZ table, we're looking for XYZ piece. I'll just be like, hey, did you look through our Instagram to see if there was anything there that you liked? And with them then going to the website, to the Instagram, seeing that we have, a lot of followers and likes and comments and stuff, sort of validates their decision-making process. It's also a really great place to be able to connect with other people as far as interior designers and clients. It's just a really great platform for that. So I want to break down sort of the importance and actionable steps that you need to do and kind of ways to think about social media. And hopefully I make you a little less scared of it, and hopefully I encourage you to post a little bit more often. So like I said, you need to consider social media to be your online gallery. So for us, we're constantly striving, constantly working to make our gallery. You could go look at it, Instagram.com/Philadelphia Table Company. We're constantly trying to make that look nicer. So having consistent photography, having really great photos, and we're working really hard to do that. If you notice, you could actually scroll all the way down and you've seen the evolution of what we've done. You can hide some older posts, and I've been debating doing that, but I also think it's kind of cool to go back and sort of see the progression of the company, both from my perspective as well as from the perspective of the client, to be able to see that. So I think it's super cool to be able to see that stuff. But if you go and look at our social media, we're actively working hard to create sort of a unified look, a unified vision. If you know, all of the sort of big social media accounts, all the brands have sort of a brand view. So making sure the lighting is similar, making sure it has the same tone, the same vibe, all of that sort of stuff. The other thing too that I've noticed is really important is getting good photos and really making sure, and we've talked about this on other podcast episodes, is really making sure you capture the right content. So let's dive a little bit into what the right content is. I see so many people who are trying to sell furniture think that they need to be posting process videos. And I know it's not all woodworkers here, but I'm just going to continue to use woodworking references. But, people are like, hey, this is how I did my dovetail joint. And at the end of the day, it's you need to think about when you're posting something, who are you posting for? Okay, that video may get a lot of followers. It may get a lot of likes. It may get a lot of comments, but what is the audience you're attracting, right? If you're showing how to make a dovetail joint, what are you bringing in? You're bringing in woodworkers. You're bringing in other people that are not going to be purchasing. So if I'm seeing your video, I'm not your client base. So from the very beginning, I always was like, hey, what are the posts that I need to do that bring in the right type of clients? And those aren't going to be process videos. Of course, they love to see stuff being handmade. I try to make sure I post photos of people making stuff, videos of people making stuff, so that they can see the stuff is handmade. But if you notice, none of my Instagram posts are this is how we make a circle. This is how we do this. And I think all of us get used to seeing that because that's what our feeds are filled with. So we're using that as sort of a reference to be like, oh, well, if this is what so-and-so is doing, I feel like I need to do this. And he has a lot of followers. This is what I need to do. But that's kind of wrong because you don't want it to feed to your algorithm. You want it to feed to the people who are going to be buying your furniture's algorithm. So for me, I'm trying to feed to the luxury client. I'm trying to feed to people who are appreciating custom handmade furniture. I'm trying to feed to those sort of people who are going to eventually be my clients, my sort of future clients, if you will. To be honest with you, no offense, I don't give a crap if, honestly, any of you guys listening to this podcast are not my audience. I don't give a crap if you like my Instagram, if you follow us, or if you don't. To me, that's not a huge thing. So out of my 25K, I want those to be all clients. I don't want them to be woodworkers. I don't care what the number is. I really care what the actual client count is of people who are coming in that are becoming fans of the brand. So with that said, I think you need to break down your thoughts into why am I posting this? Who is this post going for? Who's going to see this? Who is this post going to resonate with? And every time I do a post, I'm always thinking about that, and I'm always trying to plan. And the other thing too, I mean, I guess I just touched on it there, is it's all about having a social media strategy as well. And all the things we're talking about are strategies. So the social media strategy for me is trying to figure out who these are going to, when to post, how to interact with them, what sort of things to post, and when. It's not just a matter of me opening my app, be like, oh, I should post today. So in the community, I actually have a full calendar of things to post, of what to do, when. And I sort of break it down so you don't really have to think about it a lot. A lot of people are coming to me like, Paul, I don't know what to post. So let's sort of break that stuff down. Whether you are a single, and I know a lot of you guys are solopreneurs, people who have bigger shops, there's obviously a lot more content. You're producing a lot more things. The key thing is making sure you get photos, as many photos and many different angles and videos as possible of each individual piece or item that you're making. So if you're making custom ceramic lamps, or if you're making wood chairs, you need to make sure you're capturing all of the content you possibly can so you could really squeeze that out. For me, I have a pretty, I don't want to say rigid schedule, but I have a pretty decent schedule of how I put things out. And if you notice on my Instagram, you'll see, and I'm kind of shifting it around just to see when things tend to pop off or do better. Historically, I've always posted on Saturday mornings at, say, 10 a.m. because 10 a.m. Because at the time, although there's maybe less people on the phone, there's actually less people posting at that time. So you actually have less competition when you're posting at that time. So you have a higher chance of popping up to someone's feed when someone opens up their Instagram or their phone later in the day, when they're chilling on the couch or whatever. So historically, that's always been really good for me. You can also Google this. It's kind of like always changing, the algorithm always changing. So there's always different new things we can learn. The other popular time is like, think about when you're on social media. I mean, whether you're on it or not, think about when people would be. So kind of when they get home from work, when they're decompressing, yada, yada. So that's another great time to post, is sort of like in that 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock hour. I haven't really messed around with that too much, just because I think that's when a lot of people are posting. And like my podcast a few weeks ago where I talk about the purple cow, I'm trying to figure out ways to be different and do something that's kind of the opposite of what other people are doing. So this way I can kind of stand out a little bit more. So with that said, I usually do a post on a Saturday morning. That's usually something that a photo I've collected throughout the week. So some cool piece that we did. That's usually my sort of like statement piece I'll post on a Saturday. So something that I'm really proud of, something that I know we got some really good photos of, I'll make sure I post that on a Saturday. And Instagram allows you to upload a few different photos. So depending on how many pieces you have, you don't need to do all the photos in like sort of a reel or like a gallery, right? You can add, whatever, like up to 12 photos per post. What I like to do is, if you have, I'll do like 12 photos, but for other people who only have like maybe 1 or 2 pieces that you're finishing, that only needs to be 1 photo, and you could then reshare a different angle of that same piece kind of other times. And I know for us, it feels redundant because we're posting the same thing over and over again, but to the new viewer, it's going to be all different people viewing it every time. And you never know which angle. Sometimes the lighting is just right. We have one photo on our Instagram that just happens to do really well. I think it's an awful photo. There's like a purse in the background. There's like all kinds of junk in the room, but for some reason, that one photo just really resonated with people, and you never know until you do it. So it's all about shots on goal to see what's actually going to work. So pick a great photo that you think is a great photo to post on a Saturday or a weekend. The other thing that Instagram really incentivizes now, especially because they're trying to compete with TikTok, is videos. So I will do, if you notice, if you follow me on Instagram, Philadelphia Table Company at least, you'll see that I do like sort of these shop tours on usually like Wednesday or something. I'll try to post a reel where I'm kind of talking you through the shop, the projects we're working on, and what makes them cool. If you notice, I'm never talking about how we're making something. I'm just like, hey, this walnut table is gorgeous because of X, Y, and Z grain. Or I love the joinery that we did on this piece. I don't talk about how to do it because, again, I'm trying to sell the product, not sell I don't know, woodpecker tools or something. And that's the other thing to remember too, is that all those people who are doing those kind of videos that have tons and tons of followers, they're making more money off of affiliate links than they are from like selling actual furniture or selling actual pieces of wood or whatever the heck they're doing. Most of the time, those guys and girls are making money on affiliates. That's kind of the bulk of their income, so that's what their business is. And if that's what you want your business to be, great. Follow that sort of strategy and that sort of rule book, but that's not the strategy that I follow. All right, so to rewind, sorry, ADD brain. I will sometime midweek post some sort of a video, and the video is usually a shop tour, but the video can also be a video of a piece. So because Instagram is like prioritizing video content, so what I would do in sometimes, and we still do this, I have a huge gallery of this stuff, or a photo album of this stuff, is set up the piece as if I'm going to do a photo, but I just kind of walk around it with my phone and video it in like kind of like motion. Sometimes you could talk through it. You can add a voiceover to it. Voiceovers always do really, really well, especially now. That seems to be like a really big thing, talking through why something is good or what you love about it, etc. So doing that, sort of a walk around video, post some sort of video midweek is usually what I do. And then I also try to do some other posts. I try to post about 3 times a week. And then I'll try to do something that's about team, that's about brand, that's about who we are and what we do. And that's the other thing that's great about social media is a website just gets so dense. There's just so much there, and it's really hard to convey what your brand is and what your messaging is. And on Instagram, you could do this because you're able to sprinkle this stuff throughout. And on social media, you're able to sprinkle this stuff like throughout all your different posts, whether it's in like the comments or the captions and all that sort of stuff. The other thing that's really important with Instagram is, if you notice in the top left corner, there is a stories section. I've known this from when I was in the music industry, that it's very, very important to make sure you always have something in that stories section. So making sure, always posting something there. So even if it's something from your feed, you hit that little like, it looks like a paper airplane. I don't understand it. But even if you hit that to add to your stories, do that. Or it could be a quick video of like, hey, what's up, guys? It's Monday. I'm in the shop. I'm excited to start this sideboard for my client Mary, or whatever. And also, people do love when you call them out on social media. It actually increases followers. So I think that's kind of a cool thing. We used to do it. It just started to get kind of crazy. I might start to do it again, but I used to like walk around and be like, hey, this is a table for Mary. This is a table for John. This is it. And go around. And then what they do is they then share with their friends and family, and it's kind of exciting, and it gives them a reason to sort of follow. So that's kind of a fun tip you can do. It's a great way to get referrals too, because people always want to hear their name. That's like everyone's favorite word is their own name. So calling out someone's name in a video, I think is pretty cool too. So making sure you always have an Instagram story is really important. So let's break it down. If you are a small sort of shop, you're doing maybe 2 pieces a month, 1 piece a month. All you need to do is make sure you're getting enough photos that you have content to post 4 times that month. So you need 4 different photos to be able to post on whatever that day is, Saturday, for example. And then if you're in there working on the piece, you have the video content you need for 4 pieces of video content. And then you just need 4 other pieces of content for sort of like not process, but like, this is it in the works kind of thing. And then making sure you're like doing it like stylistically so that it like makes sense. So in reality, you need 16 pieces of content, I think, over a month, which you could easily do with just 1 piece. And you know, that's kind of like, I think, the bare minimum of what you kind of need. I mean, you can try to do less, but making sure you're doing like the videos, taking the photos, all that sort of stuff. The other thing too is there's a lot of AI tools out there now that will edit the photos for you or clean up the background. There's an app called Presti. I also have a call with somebody next week that I'll share on the podcast if it seems like it's a good fit. So what you can do is take your kind of like crappy iPhone or Android photo, upload it. Presti will like erase the background. It'll take your actual photo and then just like replace it with a better background. A lot of people in the group are using that. They've had a lot of success. I'm intentionally trying to avoid that just because I think people's kind of are like a little tuned into like AI stuff now. So I'm trying to make it so like we're not AI, but I am saying that there are people in the group that are using it, and it's been successful. Even big companies like James and James use it, Our House, all that stuff. So Presti.ai is that one. I think it's pretty expensive though. So that's a great way to take photos and get rid of like the background to it to like make sure it's better. So what am I doing with TikTok now? So with TikTok is a lot more about obviously videos. The things I'm not doing, I'm not dancing, I'm not making jokes, because that's just not what like our brand is. Usually what I'm doing is I'm sharing a shop tour on TikTok, or I'm doing like that's kind of like scroll around video where I'm kind of overdubbing and talking, hey, this is a book match maple. It's got bow ties. I love how the bow ties accent the top. And you're just kind of BSing your way through the video to sort of show it. And again, you want to make sure the content isn't about making the thing. The content is about you're sort of selling the thing, if you will. So I think it's kind of a good way to break down how to think about social media is to think about it as selling the thing instead of like how to make the thing, right? So remember when you're posting to take the time to do that. The other thing too is, like I said before, you don't need to be on it all the time. It's helpful to, if you're the kind of person who doesn't want to be on social media, I totally understand that. But just making sure you're logging in enough to do your, at least one story a day. The story refreshes every 24 hours. At least maybe like 2 or 3 posts a week would be really great. And you could then use those same posts to share on Facebook, on TikTok, all the video content you can share on TikTok, all that sort of stuff as well. The other part of social media that I actually really like is using it to, and I tell everybody this when I talk to them, is making sure you're using social media for what it's for. So like be social on social media. I've used it so many times to connect with interior designers, to connect with clients, to connect with architecture design firms. Like we've gotten some really, really big projects because I have sort of interacted with these people on social media. I'm not saying be creepy, popping into people's DMs, but liking posts, clapping, adding comments, hey, this looks great, yada, yada, yada. And then eventually starting to converse with them on direct message. I mean, DM is kind of the new text message. If you notice, if you're walking around, any young kids now will basically say, hey, what's your Instagram or whatever, because that's an easier way to message people. It feels less personal than texting. So I've done a lot of work that way, connecting with the sort of network of people that would buy our stuff. Also, they tend to like other woodworkers and things, like even I do it, is like they tend to share the interior designers they're working with. So you can sort of follow those interior designers because they know that they're willing to pay for custom stuff, and then, message them or follow them. It's also a great way to like build community around you. And community to me is kind of everything. The other thing too I wanted to emphasize is so many people now, especially with this AI digital age, are craving handcrafted stuff that's made by hand, stuff that's made by people, stuff that's made in America, yada, yada, all that stuff. So I think it's important to make sure your socials indicate that. Make sure your socials show that these things are made by hand. So thing that's really nice for me is I like showing photos, and they've sort of tended to do a little better for me, is to post objects, finished pieces in the workshop, because it sort of builds a story around it. It shows, okay, this was handmade, etc. And then the other part of it too is, and this is another great content idea for those of you who don't do a ton of pieces, is making sure you get a ton of content in people's homes as well, because then you could share those photos as well. For me, those have tended to not do that well, but sometimes they're great filler, and sometimes they do well. So it's just really a matter of just swinging the bat to see what actually ends up working, and going from there. The other things I've noticed that don't really work is hashtags don't seem to really do much. I could be wrong. If you're a social media expert and I'm wrong, send me an email. I'll gladly admit it. That didn't seem to do much. One thing that does seem to help is adding music to your thing. It says, hey, do you want to add music? You can go to popular music and then click on one of those most popular ones. That way it'll like feed to higher and more people, etc. So in general, I know social media feels super, super overwhelming, but I think it's a matter of breaking it down and creating a sort of a strategy. If you're the kind of person who has not done any social media ever, maybe you start with the once a week thing, or you do twice a week, making sure you're capturing the right content, making sure you're doing video as well as photo. And just remember the amount of time you've put into making that thing. It would be such a shame to not capture it properly. That was something that one of my employees said. Is like, hey, we spend so much time making these beautiful things, like hundreds of hours on some of these things, and we don't ever spend any time to capture what it looks like. It just disappears. We make it and it leaves. So once he said that to me, I was like, wow, you're right. We need to really spend more time doing this. So just think about it. The amount of time it took you to make that thing, take 1% of that, 5% of that, and use it to capture it. Set it aside, take an extra day. Hey, if it's done on a Tuesday and you want to get it out so you can get paid, I don't know, take Wednesday to just capture the photos and then deliver it on a Thursday. Just really make sure you take the time to capture these things, to get the photos. Time and time again, people are referencing portfolios. They're referencing photos they've seen. They're referencing things they've seen on social media. It's just the best way to spread. So I know it's a pain in the butt. I know social media can really be bad from the perspective of comparing. And that's the other thing too, is like, if you don't want to, if it's just discouraging to follow other people who have a lot of stuff going on, I personally find it inspiring. Other people find it discouraging. Really just kind of narrow the focus, narrow the people that you're following. Don't get stuck in the scroll. Maybe just do it on your computer or something. There are definitely a lot of healthy mindset ways of approaching social media. All right, guys, I hope this helped a lot with you guys. Again, social media is super important, and I get asked time and time again sort of what are the best practices to use. So I outlined a bunch. There's always show notes below. Again, the show notes will have a link to join the community if you want that, but also sort of outlines and takeaways. So if you go through those show notes and bullet points, there's a lot of great stuff there. Also, the community has a ton of amazing things where I've created worksheets and documents and bullet points and check boxes and all that sort of stuff to help keep you in line and to keep you in check and to keep you accountable with continuing to grow it. Also, remember, your social media is not going to grow overnight. If you start, this week, don't expect it to be, happen next week. It's really about consistent effort, just like going to the gym, just like doing any other thing, just like learning to woodwork or learning to make ceramics or weave or whatever it is you're doing. That takes time, and the social media also takes time. So be kind to yourself. Just know it's about consistent posting. It's about having a strategy, and it's about continually moving forward and moving the ball down court. I always say this to all my private clients, to the group, to people here: set achievable goals and achieve them. Just know, hey, I just need to get 2 posts out this week, 2 posts next week, 2 posts a week after that, and continually just keep growing, and you'll be surprised how quickly it really does start to grow. But remember, it's not going to happen overnight, and it's all about consistency. All right, guys, have a great week. Stay dusty, stay dirty, or whatever it is you're doing. It's been really great, again, connecting with all of you guys. Thanks so much for the emails. Don't forget to subscribe. All right, peace.